Hey, it's Zach, and I'm back with another episode. And I am going to be continuing on from last episode, talking a little bit more about your personal brand. This is a workshop that I teach for our clients and other people as well, and kind of tying all of these things together to help you grow your business and take it to the next level. And it's really what this podcast is all about. And so we're going to continue on in that theme. Last week, we talked about kind of the revelation of not just chasing after the brand, but really understanding what it means to build your brand, to be an authority in your space, to have that content, and what that does and what it could do for your business of ultimately living that life of joyful impact and significance, right? Which is this idea that you get to accomplish the life and business that you want while also helping other people live the life that they want. And so as we transition here, I'm going to talk about something that we've talked about all the time, but we're going to go into it just so we stay in line with the flow of the workshop, and that is our story. And I want to start by sharing this quote from Oprah. She said, "I had no idea that being your authentic self could make me as rich as I've become. And if I had, I'd done it a lot earlier." Now, I love this quote for a number of different reasons, but this idea of authenticity is one that I think really eludes people in some way, because the minute that the minute that you try to be authentic, you're no longer being authentic. The idea is just to be you, right? To show up, to do what you do best, to continue to do that day after day after day as it aligns with your goals and your values and everything else, right? That's, to me, that's what authenticity is all about. And so, as you'll see, as we get deeper and deeper into these things, we talk about your business values, right? We talk about your business goals. And so this isn't just a personal thing. You can be authentic and have an authentic business as well, and how you align all those things together. But first, you got to define them. And so we start here by talking about your story. Now, why is it so important to share your story? And we've talked about this again so many times, but it is so foundational and so important. And that is because you are the one thing that your audience cannot duplicate. Right? You are the life that you've lived, the story that you've lived, the experiences that you have gained uniquely qualify you to serve your ideal clients. So that's just the way that it is, right? Somebody can go out there and offer your services. They could duplicate your branding when it comes to the logo, to the design, to all these different things, right? But they cannot duplicate you. And that's a really important piece to this entire puzzle, because people do business with people, and they do business with people that they know, like, and trust. And so again, being your authentic self starts by being able to share your story. Why are you so passionate about helping people? Now, a lot of times people are like, well, I just wanted to make money. This seemed like a great way to make money, but that could be the case. But you also started your own business, and there's a lot of grind that's involved with doing that. And then you continue to do it. Right? Why is that? And I would guess that really because you enjoy helping people in the way that you know how to do it. And the way that you know how to do it just happens to be in finance, in real estate, in business coaching, in energy healing, and whatever it might be that you do. And that is unique to you. And again, because of your story. And so sharing your why behind this is what's going to help draw people to you, and like-minded people, and people that you want to work with. Right? How often do we take on clients, especially early on in this journey, that we otherwise wouldn't want to work with? Right? They're difficult, they're rude, or whatever it might be. But we do it because we have to right now. But you can get to a place where you get to choose who you spend your time with and who you work with as well. And all of that can be built off of your brand. Now, as a reminder, a brand is a story, branding is storytelling, and a great brand is a story that others share for you. Okay, so that's what we're going to be thinking about today and talking about a little bit more. Now, in previous episodes, I've talked about how story goes all the way back into history, right? Storytelling with cave drawings, and how that was instrumental in the proliferation of our species, surviving the ice age, and establishing societies. We've talked about how story and science, it's a part of our biology, where oxytocin, when we hear a good story, is being released in our brains, which is the foundational neuropeptide to forming connection, to building relationship, to maintaining relationships. And that's really what business is all about, right? It's how we get people to see us, to hear us, to know us, and ultimately to do business with us, which is a relationship building process. And so storytelling is a very, very important and powerful part of all of that. Now, I've talked before about how to craft a story, and there's some things that I want to share with you today on what it looks like to craft a story. Now, there's a number of different stories that we'll get into, but how you craft a good story really comes down to these three basic elements that are foundational to every good story. Now, first, we've got the character. You've got to have a character in order to have a story, right? That just par for the course. The second thing is attention or a goal that that character is trying to achieve or overcome. And then the last part of that is the resolution. You have to have a resolution at the very end. Otherwise, you leave people hanging and they walk away not as happy. Now, when we look at this from a marketing perspective, and we'll dig in really deep to the marketing part of this later on in future episodes. But when we look at this, is storytelling really plays into every part of your sales funnel as well. Who's the character? Who are you talking to? Is it a prospect? Is it a client? Is it someone who's heard of you before? Is it someone who hasn't heard of you before? What's the tension that they're living in? What's the goal that they're trying to achieve? And then what's the path to get there, right? And so you'll see the sales process is really just the unfolding of a really good story. And the good story is that they found you, they worked with you, and now they're living a great life because of that. And everybody wins, right? So that's what we're looking at here. Now, the different types of stories that we can talk about and that I talk about in this workshop that I hold on how to build a brand is I think maybe about three that I really focus on. The first one is your core story. Okay. Your core story is your story. That is the why behind what you do. It's what got you into the business that you're in. And that might be, I've had conversations with people before where they were in corporate America. They had a moment in their life where things fell apart or they almost lost their life. They had a heart attack and they looked at everything that they were doing and realizing that the stress that they were living in or whatever it was wasn't the type of life that they wanted. And so they set out to start this business of helping other people not fall prey to the same things that they did. Right. And so that's an example of a story. It could just be that you inherited your business from your family and you're carrying on the legacy, whatever it is. What is your story and why are you passionate about helping people in the way that you help people? And that why is going to attract your ideal client to you. The next one of these is our prospect story. Now, the reason why I delineate that or why I pull it out is because the prospect story is different from your client story, which is the third one of these stories. The client story is the story where they were living in that tension. They couldn't figure out what was going on, how to fix their lives in the way that they could. They found you, they worked with you, and now their life is better, right? It's got the character, it's got the tension, the obstacle, the goal, it's got the resolution at the end of that. The prospect story is they're still living in that tension. You've got to meet them where they are. And so the prospect is searching. They're searching for a resolution to their problem, but they are currently in the problem. And so in your marketing, you should be speaking to that problem, right? And then painting a picture for what life could be like on the other side. Now, again, we'll get more into that in a future date. I really want to focus on here more on your core story, right? Now, in Nick Nanton's Wall Street Journal best-selling book, Story Selling, he pulls out a few of these major plot lines, and he pulled this from somewhere else, and I forget where it is. Maybe we could have it pop in somehow or something cool like that. But these are pretty well known. If you just Google like the 7 major plot lines for film or whatever, you'll see all of them. But there's 4 in particular that really stand out when it comes to business and things like that, and for entrepreneurs, right? And so those 4 major plot lines are, first, overcoming the monster. Now, you may not be out there literally fighting dragons or anything like that, like in this picture, but you might be actually overcoming a monster like a divorce, or it could be abuse, or whatever else it was that was the quote unquote monster in your life that you had to overcome in order to achieve the level of success that you're in now, and then to be able to help other people. There's a tax resolution guy who had to overcome the monster of figuring out his taxes and now helps other people do it too. And maybe the monster is the IRS in that situation, right? Yeah, don't come after me. But anyway, the monster could be figurative. It doesn't necessarily need to be an actual dragon or ogre or something like that, as I'm sure you know. Another plot line here is rebirth, right? Where you have a second chance, right? And that's what this is all about, where, things have gotten terrible and, everything got burnt to the ground and you're coming up out of the ashes on the other side. And so there's some really cool stories around that too. And then the next one is let's see here. Rags to Riches. Yeah, this is a good one too. I always think of The Pursuit of Happiness as an example of this. The movie with based on a true story with Will Smith and his son, and just a very emotional movie, and really just have seen it several times and I really enjoy. But that's a great story of rags to riches. Oprah is a great story of rags to riches. I used her quote earlier, and so there's a lot of different stories out there that people use where they started with nothing and have been able to build something for themselves and now help other people do that as well. And the last one of these is actually my favorite, and that is The Quest. Now, the reason why this is my favorite is because I really truly believe that everybody is on a quest. As long as you are alive, you are on a quest to achieve whatever it is. Because the reality is that let's say there was a monster in your life and you overcame that monster. If you were a movie, you'd be done. That'd be the end of the story. Everyone would grab up, their leftover popcorn or whatever it is and head to the car and go home, right? But that's not the case for our lives, right? That's not how it works. And so the reality is that our story is still being written day after day after day. And so the quest is really what you are on as an entrepreneur. And what makes your brand and your story so powerful too is that even if you decided to sell your business, whatever it is that you're doing now, and start doing something else, it's just a new chapter in your story along this quest to achieve whatever it is that you want to achieve, and how you want to change the way that you help people or whatever it might be. And so it's just another chapter in the book. And so really, I believe that we are all on a quest. And it may be that in an earlier chapter in our lives, we had to overcome a monster. Maybe it was rags to riches, but that doesn't have to be our story forever. And in fact, we can turn the page to the next leg of that. To the next chapter, however that's being written. And that's why I love stories so much, because it allows room for you to be able to change, to grow, to pivot, to do something new, to do something different, or to add things to what you're already doing, because it all aligns with you and what you are passionate about and what you want to do, which then all aligns with your overarching story again, which is this quest. So, all right. So those are the four major plot lines that we're talking about here. And so, as you are thinking about, okay, well, what could my story be? Or I don't have a story, or what would that really look like? I think of this commercial, and I'm not going to share it on here because I don't know what the rights are behind all that kind of stuff, but it was a Lincoln commercial. And I forget the date, but Matthew McConaughey was doing those. And he was talking about, you got to know where you came from in order to know where you were going. Right. You just need to be able to look in the right place. And so again, this pensive sort of Lincoln commercial of him driving on a highway and whatever else has some really insightful information in there. And I think he actually quotes that commercial in his book, Green Lights too. So either way, it's a good commercial, but it talks about this idea of having to go back, right? Not to chase ghosts, as he says, but to go back and really look at where you came from, what you went through, what did you do? And that helps us to be able to understand not only where we are, but where we're going. And so the same thing's true for right now, right? Go back. What are the things in your life that shaped you to make the decisions that you made? There's a reason why you chose to take over the family business, because there's a lot of people that don't. There's a reason you chose to go into finance. There's a reason you chose to get into real estate. There's a reason you chose to be a business coach or a success coach or a life coach or a therapist or whatever it might be, right? There's a reason why you chose this particular path. And that is a good place to start looking to understand why. And as you begin to share your story, you can understand where your prospects currently are. What type of emotions are they dealing with? What are things are they battling in this moment of their life, right? Is it fear? Is it doubt? Is it uncertainty? Is it loss? And how in your story have you experienced those things as well? And then in your ability to be able to share your story with them about how you had gone through something similar, and then to be able to show them that there's life on the other side. There's a path through. There's a resolution. To be able to achieve the success that they want in their lives as well. And you can help them get there because you understand what it's like and you've done it, right? So that's what uniquely qualifies you to be able to serve them. And so all of this plays together to be able to use story in your marketing and in your sales funnel and in different places, again, that we'll go into further detail. But it really does start with you. And are you sharing your story? And do you understand what your story is and ultimately what your why is? And can you articulate it in a way that you could tell the full story that takes 10 minutes or a shorter version of that that takes two? Do you know it well enough inside and out that you can really share that with people? And are you sharing that with people? Right? Because again, a brand is a story, but a great brand is a story that others are sharing for you. And let me tell you, they are sharing a story about you. It may be good, it may not be good, but you want them sharing the story that really does leave the greatest impact, and the less amount of room for questions about who you are and what you do and how you help people. Right? And so share that story, and that's really what that's all about. I've shared this before. I'll share it again. But a cool way to be able to do that is what we call the journey roadmap. So you break up your life into 3 segments, early life, sometime after that, and then from that point until now. And so you just kind of separate all those out, and then you have positive and negative. Look, if you have the mentality that there's no negative things that happen in your life that are just opportunities for you to learn and grow, great. This is just a way to be able to delineate the 2 experiences that you had. And so when I did this for the first time, I was 36, easy enough, 12-year blocks in between each one. And then just write down things that you remember. What are the first things that come to mind? I've got 3 on here, but just write down as many as you can that come to mind within, 2 to 3 minutes for each one of those blocks, both good and bad. Right? Bad memories, good memories, whatever it is, write those down, and then maybe call them down to the 3 to 5 most impactful moments that you remember. And then look at those. What emotions were you feeling? What experiences did you have? What were you going through? How did that shape the way that you make decisions now? And that's probably a really good place for you to start to be able to fully understand why you do what you do, in a way that you can really tell that story in a way that has impact, and authenticity, right? Because that's what it's all about. And as always, I don't recommend sharing anything that you haven't healed from, or have processed through or anything like that. But again, it's a good exercise for you to really start to uncover some of those things, because at the end of the day, we all make decisions based on our past, whether we choose to make different decisions or the same ones or whatever it might be. And so understanding where we came from helps us to understand where we are, and really ultimately to understand where we want to go. Whether that's on a different trajectory or keep heading off on the same one. And so great. Awesome. Well, that's all I got for you now, and for today. Hopefully that was a good sort of overview of some of the things that I teach in the workshop. The continuation of that is kind of diving more into the story mindset and some other things too. I'm not going to do that in this go around. I have a couple of episodes just talking about what the story mindset is and how we can be the authors of our own future, which I've touched on a little bit briefly here. So if you want to check that out, you can check it out on the Success Network or on my podcast or on my YouTube channel. But all of those are there for you to be able to dig in a little bit deeper. And as always, if you found this helpful, please like, subscribe, share with friends, family members, colleagues, anybody who you feel like would benefit from understanding their story and how to uncover their story, and to share their story. And as always, until next time, keep elevating and accelerating.